With recently passed eviction protections, landlords in San Diego have to give their tenants 6 months notice before they can sell their rental property and exit the rental property business. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of San Diego, California. Now, I did cover before the fact that there was a new eviction protections put in place in the city of San Diego. Well, they just took effect on Sunday. I'm going to tell you exactly all of the ridiculous rules and regulations that they're going to try to have landlords comply with, okay? The whole thing is a mess, okay? They've tied it together with this whole pandemic issue, and the problem with that is, hey, for everyone else, for every other business, pandemic's over. Okay, they've stopped the mask mandates. They stopped the stay-at-home orders. People have gone back to work. Yeah, there's still economic issues that were caused by the government, but hey, why do the landlords have to be the ones that suffer? Okay, it's not right, and I've never supported any of it, and it just absolutely angers me to no end. So one of the things that caught my eye specifically about this new legislation they've passed up in San Diego is that if a landlord wants to exit the rental property business, they have to give the tenant 6 months notice. Okay, 6 months. You know how ridiculous that is? Like, imagine, here you are, let's say you are in financial ruin right now, financial distress, and you're like, I have to sell this property right now. Well, you can't sell it because you can't get that tenant out of there, and nobody's going to want to buy it with a tenant in there. Even if you're just a single family home owner with one property, you're going to be trying to comply with these ridiculous rules, okay? Another one of the little rules that they put in place is you have to give a tenant 90 days notice if you want to move into the property yourself. So they're giving the tenant all this time. I'm surprised they didn't tell you, well, you have to pay the tenant $100,000. The tenant gets free payouts. The tenant gets more rights to your property than you do as a landlord. And that is what angers me. But it doesn't surprise me either, because this is California here, okay? They have no respect for property rights there. They have no respect for landlords there. And they think that the tenants are the most important thing. So, one of the arguments they always try to use is, oh, this will help prevent homelessness. No, it won't. Okay? Your homeless issue is way deeper than whether a landlord is evicting a person or not renewing a lease. Okay? Your homeless issue is caused because your housing costs are way too high. You will not allow them to build new housing. And the result is there's a lot of people who can't afford to live there. Before I get into this article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. What do you think the cause of the homelessness issue in California is? Do you think the cause of the homelessness issue is landlords not renewing leases? Because that's what they're suggesting with this new law, with this new, good cause eviction crap that they're passed, that landlords are to blame for the homelessness issue. No, it's not landlords, okay? It's them. It's their government regulations. It's their stupid policies they put in place that made housing so expensive that now people can't afford to live there. Okay? Oh, man, I'm already hot and I'm just getting started. But let's get into this article. Okay, so this article is coming from obrag.org, and it says, San Diego's no-fault eviction moratorium now in effect. All right, and let's see what it says. San Diego's new eviction moratorium just went into effect Sunday, May 22nd, and is now the rule that prevents landlords from removing tenants for no-fault reasons. It applies to renters who are up to date on their rent payments and abiding by the terms of their leases. That's kind of a bunch of garbage right there, because if they're abiding by the terms of their lease, well, didn't their lease have a limited amount of time written onto it? I mean, I don't have infinite leases, My leases are usually for a year. In some cases, I do have a 2-year lease in place, right? So if they're abiding by their lease, then after a year, they gotta go, right? So they can't possibly be abiding by it if they're refusing to go. That's my opinion, but obviously they don't agree with me in San Diego. With the moratorium in place, if a landlord or family member wants to move into the unit, they need to provide the tenant with 90 days notice. If they want to take the property off the rental market, they must now provide 6 months notice. Okay, so that's what I was just talking about before. So there's a lot of reasons why you might have to move back into the unit yourself. Imagine, for example, you're a military member, right? You have a tenant in there temporarily until you want to come back, move back into there after you're done, serving your tour or whatever, right? And now you can't because you have to give them 90 days notice. So you're homeless. Guess what? Now your landlord or the landlord's family is homeless because you're trying to protect this tenant who actually has zero rights to the property. That's stupid, okay? Now, in terms of the 6 months notice, like I said before, if you're trying to sell that property, you need that money quick. You can't get that tenant out of there. And that's just wrong, okay? The no-fault eviction moratorium is set to expire September 30th or 60 days after the pandemic state of emergency ends, whichever comes first. San Diego City Council President Sean Elo Rivera was a big advocate for he told the CBS 8. So, yeah, they say it's going to be all the way till September 30th or the pandemic state of emergency ends. When is this going to end? I mean, we're 2 years beyond it. Every other thing about this pandemic is over, except for this eviction protection nonsense. Okay, so you're purposefully punishing landlords. And why are they doing this? Well, we already know why, okay? These very left-leaning, progressive, politicians, right? What they want is they want to turn this country into a socialist country. They want the government to own everything. They hate landlords. They hate anybody who works hard for their money, starts a business and then comes up, and they basically want to put everything under government control. Because they're stupid. That's why they're stupid. That's my only thing. I believe they're dumb. I believe they have no common sense. They couldn't read the evidence that says that socialism doesn't work and even understand what it means. Okay? So they put these stupid laws in place and try to punish landlords to get them screwed over and hoping that the government can come in and take over. Well, you know what? I'm not going to put up with that, and no one else will either. Nobody wants that here. Okay, the only people who want that are, these ridiculous progressive politicians, okay? And the end result, if they ever got what they wanted, was everyone would be in poverty. Okay, there'd be bread lines. People would be living in slums. Take a look at public housing. You see what that is. So you trying to dictate what landlords can and can't do with their own property. You know what? It's wrong. It's unconstitutional, and you got to be stopped. We got to stop these people from doing this crap. Now they're going to, let's see here. They have a nice quote from this city council person. Let me read it. Despite having paid their rent on time, I got to read it with a stupid voice. Despite having abided by the terms of their lease, they were still being evicted because the rental market in San Diego is such that landlords noted that if they do a bit of an upgrade and some minor renovations, they can jack up rent substantially. No. Okay? Simply put, the person signs a contract for however long that lease is, usually a year, maybe a couple of years, right? And when that lease is over, if we choose not to renew the lease for that tenant, that isn't an eviction. That is not renewing a lease. These people, they got these terms in their head that are misleading. We're not going there and we're not saying, we're kicking you out because you're a crappy tenant. No, we're just saying, hey, this is the new lease. This is the new rental amount. If you aren't willing to pay that, we're just not going to renew, and you can move along and go find somewhere you can afford. Now, unfortunately, in a place like San Diego, housing is extremely tight. But if they had allowed builders and developers to build more properties, this wouldn't be as big of a problem. So are they going to push these people into homelessness? Probably not. Okay, the grand majority of those people will just go and find somewhere they can afford. But will there be some people who won't be able to find places they afford? The people on the very bottom rungs of the ladder? Yeah, there will. And my suggestion to those people is get the heck out of San Diego. It's one of the most expensive places in the entire country to live. It makes no sense that you would rather live in a car or, be homeless in San Diego than go somewhere that is affordable, okay? Somewhere where you can afford to actually have a place to live. So, that's ridiculous. But let me keep going with this article. It's a short one, so there's not much more. What we have done, though, is ensure that there is fewer exceptions to the rules, and when someone is going to be evicted, that they are given enough time to get their life together. Research from the Legal Aid Society of San Diego reported that during a 7-month period from July 2021 through January of 2022, they received 1,400 requests for assistance with housing-related issues, and no-fault evictions made up 23% of those requests. So for a 6-month period, they received 1,400 requests for assistance, and no-fault evictions made up 25% of that. So like 350 requests, right? So you're talking about 350 requests. San Diego's a city of 3 million people in the whole metropolitan area. That's not that many requests for a 6-month period, okay? And no fault evictions. If these people, they needed help and you were able to get them help, that's cool. But that doesn't mean that we have to punish these landlords. So now landlords are stuck with tenants who, they might need the property for themselves. They might need to move a family member into it. Their family is homeless. They might need to sell this property and they can't sell it. And so you've taken away their property rights, all for what you say is, it's a pandemic state of emergency. Well, that's just a lie and an excuse, and I just don't believe it, and nobody else believes it either.